So are we getting tired of this trash yet? It's been what, 4 or 5 years, 6 years since this whole influencer boxing thing started? I've never been a fan of it. I've obviously never been a fan of absolute plebs like Logan Paul, Jake Paul and KSI. It astonishes me that people pay money to watch these dudes fight, but I think it's getting old, and it's getting old real fast. And one of the things that really bothers me about this whole influencer boxing, and particularly Jake Paul, is the narrative spin by MMA media shows. If we look at the likes of Ariel Helwani, who shows up at these events trying to commentate, trying to be some sort of moderator, trying to interview people.
Yeah, man, you know, I just like to meditate and breathe.
He just looks like an absolute moron standing there with the mic in his hand, acknowledging these losers as if it's a real combat sport. He takes a ball of heat for his MMA Hour show, where sometimes you mightn't even get a person that is partaking in MMA. You have a shill fest of boxers and pretend boxers and really cringe garbage talk and a load of shit, to be honest with you. And this whole thing is getting tiring. Finally, we have some ex-UFC champions that are calling this shit out. We have Michael Bisping and we have Mighty Mouse. They're not having it. These guys are fed up with it the same way we are.
Jake Paul was always destined to win this fight, and you are the suckers if you paid for this fight, and I know most people didn't.
Wanted it to be a little bit longer.
Unfortunately, my opponent was utter dog shit and couldn't make it through one round. He's calling out Canelo because he knows damn well that fight is not going to happen. Canelo Alvarez would not wipe his ass with a Jake Paul payday. He doesn't want circus, sideshow, freak show fights, okay? He is disrespecting the sport of boxing. He's disrespecting all the people that work the way up. But more importantly, he's conning the fans. Beating people that you know you can beat, that's called being a bully.
And something that I alluded to many a time on this channel is that if we look at the MMA journalism scene and we look who's spearheading that scene, like Ariel Helwani, Luke Thomas, over and over and over again we will hear these guys saying that they are disgraced and appalled by the MMA fan base, by the community and by the fighters themselves, and they will put plaudits all the way over onto the boxing scene. If you listen to Luke Thomas, he thinks that it's poetic, that there's a grace to the boxing scene that just isn't there with right-leaning conservative MMA fans. So it's not too much of a surprise to see the likes of Michael Bisping or Mighty Mouse come out and call this shit out. And more people should be doing it too. There should be an eradication of influencers entering into combat sports, talking a big game about millions and Bugattis and Rolexes, and no one's actually watching the fight. This Jake Paul thing on the weekend, the dude was working on an oil rig or something like that.
Borland is originally from the Bay Area of California, but decided to come out to North Dakota 5 years ago to work in the oil industry.
What the fuck is this?
The dude comes off an oil rig to fight Jake Paul. I didn't even know that the fight was on, and I only found out today that it was on over in Puerto Rico. Who the fuck was watching that? Who was buying pay-per-views? And there's a narrative going around at the moment. Content creators are putting it out there, and if you go into the comment section of any of these influencer boxing type people, you will see it over and over again. And I can't believe people are slurping it up like it's free soup. The story goes that all professional boxers had their records padded out by fighting nobodies on their way to becoming a star. Okay, that seems to be cropping up everywhere. Look in any comment section. So tell me this, Anthony Joshua, Mike Tyson, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, all these lads, when they were coming up and they fought all these cans that padded out their records like everybody is saying at the moment, was it front and center of our social media? Was our most prominent MMA commentators and journalists like Ariel Helwani, Luke Thomas talking about this stuff ad nauseum? Were they talking about some cans that Anthony Joshua fought like 10 years ago? No, they weren't. Was there this massive push by DAZN TV network and Jake Paul and pay-per-view? No, there wasn't. So there's a bit of a false dichotomy there in terms of, yes, these guys padded out their records by fighting lads that mightn't have been up to their standard. Grand. But it wasn't pay-per-view. It wasn't front and center. It wasn't been talked about by a different sport's most prestigious journalists. And whilst talking about it, denigrating and putting down everything about their own sport, that didn't happen. Like, how sad is it that if you're a huge super MMA fan, you gotta listen to Luke Thomas about the grace and how it's like a poem watching these guys fight or speak? Fuck off, mate, will you? Stop. Did you see the press conferences with Jake Paul and this lad off the oil rig?
Question, like, what is the Rhino? Like, how did you come up with that nickname?
My grandpa gave it to me when I was younger. I was pretty tough and strong as a kid, so my grandpa gave it to me.
That's what's up, bro. Congrats. Fire nickname. Do you realize that rhinos are land animals?
That was one of the most embarrassing things that I ever saw in my life. And if we're talking about mental retardation, did you see the weigh-ins?
Absolutely dialed! Absolutely dialed! Tengo's no esto! Tengo's no esto!
I'm retarded? I don't know what's going on with the influencer boxing thing, but it's starting to wear extremely thin. If I see Sneeko boxing with an MMA star trying to boost his profile because no one's interested in having him on podcasts anymore, one more time, I'm going to pluck my eyes out. If I see Jake Paul talking like he is a fighter over and over again, jumping on phone calls with Ryan Garcia, another boxing star who apparently we have to look up to and adore because he's levels above MMA stars according to the likes of Luke Thomas, and the dude is like chazzed out of his head every time I see him. It's like, no, I'm not playing that game. I'm not buying what you're selling. There's nothing that you can say about the boxing industry. Doesn't matter how many MMA hour shows you have dedicated to boxing. I'm not buying it. You can be 100% guaranteed that we all understand that UFC have a mixed bag of personalities. Some guys are absolutely crazy. Some guys are middle of the road. Some guys are just quiet and get the job done. But we love them for all them attributes. And to say that the MMA community and the MMA fan base is some sort of degenerate right-wing nut job of a fan base, and to elevate the boxing scene to this utopian level of righteousness and beauty is just not gonna wash with me. We can cast a net across the sphere of boxing legends and boxing superstars, and all we will get is degeneracy, depravity, gambling, drug use, racism. It's absolutely disgusting. I'm glad to see the likes of Michael Bisping come out, call this shit out, because it's done. Can we just put it to bed now? Do we have to keep on watching some billionaire, spoiled, rotten, degenerate kid gaslight a generation of teenagers to watch him fight some ex-oil rig worker or something like that? I don't know. I'm done with it. I don't want to hear anything about it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Cheers.